Hello, Polytopians. Welcome to the Polytopia official channel. Today we have a VENGIR Polysseum highlights for you. My name is Adam, aka Gato Azul, aka MijiTube. As always, I have fantastic guests with me, two professional Polytopia players, multiple bullet champions, and in general, great friends of the Polytopia folk. Sorry, let me add them. Hi, Reaper. Hi, Cloud. Welcome to the stream.
Hello. My name is the Reaper. I'm a former bullet champion, and I've also won Polysseum before. I'm glad to be with you all.
Yeah, we'll talk about Polysseum a bit later in the stream. Hi, Cloud. Can you hear us? Hello. Okay, maybe Cloud will join us later. Okay. Before we start, as a bit of a warm up. No, we can't hear you, Cloud. Maybe you should just sign out and sign in again.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
There we go.
Hey. Yeah, I'm CLOUDGLIDDER. I'm the house leader of Tempest, and I sometimes play some Polysseum, but not too often.
Okay, yeah, Reaper is more and more experienced in Challenger mode. Okay, before we start, I have a question about some big recent events in the world of Polytopia. So the Miji has released Aquarian updates. How do you find the Forgotten and all the balance changes around the Aquarian? Have you had a chance to play them?
Yes, I've actually played quite a few games with them. I think the most interesting about it is the bubbles. I like that because they kind of nerfed the amphibians and stuff a little bit with them not being able to use roads anymore. So I think giving them that extra movement is definitely worthwhile, and it makes crabs just slightly more deadly and more useful. Before crabs were kind of looked at as a really weak super unit and they weren't worth getting. Now they're kind of important, just because they can move faster than a giant can, and so it makes them more versatile in different positions. So yeah.
Cloud?
Yeah, I definitely like them. I really like the skin, actually. I think it's one of my favorite skins. And yeah, jellies are really fun units. The sharks are a little bit stronger too, like that they increase the attack by 0.5.
Yeah, 3.5 instead of 3.
It doesn't seem like a big difference, but it allows it to one-shot units like warriors and riders and things like that, which actually is like a really big difference. So
yeah, a lot of people were complaining about the sharks kind of being overpriced because they can't really do much, and it's 8 stars per unit, so it's like not a good deal for a shark.
Yeah, but with all units, right? It's not like you can have if you just spam crabs, right? And you only have crabs, well, crabs aren't going to win you the game, right? You need to complement it with other units, right? For instance, I mean, if you put jellies in front of sharks, then they become super deadly. Because then you have jellies tanking the damage, and you can just have sharks, clear up any units in the way. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're a great kind of backline offensive tool, right? If you hold them for a while and you just like store up, 1 or 2, maybe 3, then you could instantly kill any super unit that's in front of you, which I think is extremely powerful. So
yeah, I agree.
yeah, them having the surprise or the one that makes them not take retaliation damage is definitely good.
Yeah, it's surprised. Yeah, surprised.
I gotta say, I do miss the old Tridention gameplay or Tridenton gameplay of just storing up a bunch of tridents and just having them hit and run away and just keep doing that.
So yeah,
I do miss. Yeah, I do miss Tridention. Surely they were a little bit overpowered in the previous update. But yeah, no. Now I think they got a healthy nerf. You know, I do think. I mean, if you still had them like versus if you still had previous Tridentions, right, against the current jellies, I don't think jellies would
That's
really stand a
true.
chance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the
I
tridents
think
will be too strong.
yeah, so I think now that you need another unit to make them worthwhile, right? Like you need jellies in front to try and weaken the units, and then you can kind of chain with a Tridention or whatever. So I mean, I do think they're still viable, but maybe in like late game scenarios, I don't know if they're that good in early game anymore, though.
Yeah, but finally, I think Aquarian is not just like a kind of one-way tribe. So like going for Tridention, there are like many more options, while playing them. So
Yeah, of course.
Okie doke. Yeah. So maybe one last question before we start watching those replays. So have you tried competing in challenger mode format? What are the differences between the Polychamps Bullet and the Polysseum? If you could share a few details about that.
So Bullet, it's on tidy maps. Some of it can be very, depending on spawns and stuff. Obviously, there's always play a factor, but in Bullet, a lot of just like unit management and micro, and interactions are normally what determine who wins and stuff. And in Polyseum, though, it's a little bit larger maps. Normally on small. And then of course the tribe that in these games are VENGIR. You can have a little bit more versatility on both sides. You can go with VENGIR, you can go. I see a lot of people try to go into archery. A lot of people just like spamming swords, which is fair. And so Polyseum, it's a little bit longer format. I think Bullet, it's matches can last. I mean, if you go into end game, then maybe 40 minutes, but normally games end 10 15 minutes in. Polyseum's games can last I don't know, depending on the player. If they're both very good, then 30 to 40 minutes. So I think it provides a little bit more in-depth games than it does Bullet.
Cloud?
Yeah, I definitely think that Bullet ends a lot faster just because the map size is a little bit smaller. I think the larger size does allow for more complex interaction and reaching later stages of the game on average, but at the cost of longer games. Also like that in Bullet because we stream it and play it live in the VCs and Poly Champions. You can also talk to your opponents after the game. I think for Challenger mode you also have that message feature, but I think it's less used. But,
I'm not sure. Reaper, have you ever texted your opponents?
I don't remember. I know people have messaged me before in it, but I don't really use it myself. I normally just use Discord. That's the best way to contact me, really.
Sure.
I think I've had like one person contact me on like Challenger mode after a tournament. They were like, "Oh, GG's, dude," and then it turns out they mistook me for another person.
Okay, that's nice. Okay. Yeah, so thanks for sharing. So let's dive into the games. So I'll add my screen. Yeah, because today we have experienced some technical difficulties. So I will be operating the stream. Sorry, the Steam. And our commentators will be giving me some guidelines what I should do. Yeah. Okay. So the first game is between Chris and Pampered Treasure. So let's look at the spawns first.
All right. So we see White or Chris has 5 forests and a mountain, and within VENGIR borders, all of their mountains are guaranteed to have gold in them, or ore. So At least, he could go climbing, but it looks like he has a nice, path into forestry. Meanwhile, it looks like Pampered Treasure has 2 forests and 2 mountains. Not as many forests. Maybe he'll lean into mining smithery. But I don't know. We'll see.
Cloud, any comments?
Density-wise, I'm liking Chris's spawn a little bit better. He does have access to villages that have a little bit more land. We can see he has like access to these 3 villages that doesn't look like they can be easily contested. And there's these 2 ruins too. So if these are like star ruins or some really good ruins, they could be really impactful on the outcome of the game. On the other hand, his opponent does have access to 2 villages kind of on the side here if we scroll over to Green Vengir's side a bit. They do have these 2 villages, one being like really in the corner. With having that lighthouse block that forge spot is a little bit unfortunate. But
yeah, that's sad. Yeah.
I would say Chris's spawn here looks a little bit nicer, but he does have a little... It does look like they're going to be kind of fighting most of their battle on this narrow landscape.
This is Lake's map. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's play the replay.
Alrighty, so they both go for the warrior opening. Both spreading out. Okay, looks like both of them set their units different directions. So we have Pampered Treasure sending his warrior over to the west, trying to scoop up that village there, and then we have him sending his swordsman towards the center.
Actually, no, sorry. Let me turn on the fog so we see how this developed, not on the whole map. Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate where Chris sends off his first swordsman, misses both the villages here actually. And it looks like they might get an early meet on turn 5. Yep, and he decides to hit here, which is a bit interesting considering if you hit the swordsman, you actually can't kill it next turn. You'll both be at 8 HP. So I think that he was kind of going for a bluff here, like, I might have a unit behind, I might not. Do you decide to capture this village still? And it looks like Pampered Treasure does not fall for it, and he goes ahead and hits the warrior anyways. Chris gets this early siege.
Yep.
Yeah, we can pause it. So we see here Chris goes for an interesting riding play with here. I'm slightly interested to see why he went riding. Because his resource kind of indicates more of a hunting into archery kind of style gameplay. But I guess since he missed those and he didn't really get any center village until it looks like turn 7 here. That he was trying to prioritize expanding and trying to scoop up more villages. He also makes a play for Pampered Treasure's south village, but with Vengir it's really hard to hold cities with riders, just because they can have a swordsman in range, and their riders, your rider's dead, you're not holding that.
Yeah, it's one shot for a swordsman.
Yeah,
so Chris got his riding through the ruin, so it was a bit of it was a questionable ruin. I feel like it could have been better, but I mean, at least you can use writing. It's not something like, I don't know, meditation. But yeah, he got writing, so I think he trained writers to try to utilize it to the best of his abilities to maybe try to out-expand his opponent. At this point in the game, they don't know that the entire northwest half of the map is basically all water. I think there's 2 villages there. But yeah, at this point, I think he's trying to play to out-expand his opponent and try to shut down their expansion.
And what do you think about this play here? That the green hit the gray swordsman.
Was it green that hit the gray, or was it gray that hit the green?
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, the other way around. Okay.
Yeah, so gray hit the green in order to finally get this kill and siege this village. I think they were making a play to try to take the village, since the village isn't really making too much, since they took an explorer rather than a workshop. But with Vengir, you can really use every star you can get. He is trading 3 stars in the rider itself for the siege. but I think it was worth the play, worth the gamble. Maybe getting that village could be pretty big, and it also secures this west village a little bit for him. Just makes it a little bit safer to capture. Although when he gets unsieged with that swordsman, it means that even if he captures that west village, it's immediately going to get sieged by a swordsman again.
Okay, let's continue. Okay.
So we see him unsiege. Okay, so Chris finally grabs forestry. Just getting that economy up, because VENGIR, their resources aren't amazing, but once you get that economy rolling, then they can start really producing some sort of offensive units. He gets a really nice explorer on Pampered Treasure. All right, so we see just picking off some units with those riders. Oh yeah, I like how Chris actually stepped off that village in the east, not allowing Pampered Treasure to actually kill his swordsman there to siege and hold it. He actually, so what this does is this delays Pampered Treasure by a turn from capturing that village, and it also gives Chris one more turn to try and prepare some sort of defense to try and maybe take that city, for himself. And so we'll see if Chris has enough units there to get that village. We'll probably need a swordsman or two to help him out.
Yeah, here we can see that they're both going into climbing and they're both training a lot of units. They don't want their opponents to get the military advantage in either way. And Chris really going aggressive and buying all the way into roads here. Really trying to outmaneuver his opponents with his superior mobility and win that way.
Yeah, I run into a problem with VENGIR often, though, is, you have all these riders and stuff, but it takes 4 riders to kill 1 swordsman. So if your opponent can just spam swordsman and they get their economy up, then it can be really troublesome sometimes.
So some scorched earth here, I see, because Chris knows that he won't be able to hold this Qatar town. I think he cut all the forest there.
Yeah, so he cuts all the forest, just to take the stars for himself, and it kind of prevents his opponent from getting a giant there, which is a very smart play. All right, so Pampered Treasure goes to take it back. Pampered Treasure gets a star ruin.
Oh, very nice, yeah.
So it looks like
both chopping a lot and just setting up their forge spots, because starting with smithery is a very strong tech, but you can't really properly utilize it until you have mining and climbing. It does make the mining and climbing branch that much stronger, but it also means that it's pretty slow because you have to buy 2 techs before you can utilize the full potential of that 2 climb.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. Double giant in the...
Yeah, so we see Pampered Treasure popping 2 giants there. That's going to pose a really big problem for Chris. He doesn't, his economy, his cities are mostly level 1, level 2, right? He doesn't have that much, stars per turn for himself. And, that alone, he really only has some riders and a few warriors about. So I'm interested to see what Chris ends up going for here. I think archery would be a very nice play. Would just allow some free damage on those giants, and would really help him out, I think, in the east as well, just training archers on his capital to pick away at those swordsmen sieging his city right now. But Chris right now, his economy, he's at 9 stars per turn. Pampered Treasure is, I believe, at 20, so facing a little bit of an economy problem.
Chris does get a star ruin that allows for this crazy play, throwing down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 roads to get the unsiege and connecting 2 cities to his capital.
Yeah.
Crazy play, yeah.
I would also like to mention, so if we pause the replay real quick. So if we look at how Chris positioned his units, he moved his units he moved his rider and his warrior in the west 1 tile closer just to slow those giants down, right? With giants, you want them to be slow, and that you want to buy as much time as possible before they can get to your cities. So I think Chris, from moving his units there, right, he delays those giants from, ever getting, if Pampered Treasure were to try and want to speed up the process of getting those giants, to his cities, right? He could go riding in roads, right? And he definitely has the stars to go for it. But Chris goes ahead and, he blocks that play with positioning his units a tile closer, just the zone of control those units, so that way they're not, rushing into his territory real quick. I think that was a very key play, because it buys Chris just an extra turn of time to prepare any sort of defense in this position.
Yeah, and you can see that even though I believe Chris they have the same number of cities. Maybe Chris is up one city in this position, I believe. Treasure has 4 and Chris has 5. But the main difference here is that Chris just does not have that many mines in his cities, whereas Pampered Treasure does. So they can really throw down mines, throw down forges, and get a lot of population in that way. But 2 of Chris's cities have no mines and no forests, and that's really hurting his eco right now. So it's that first upgrade, taking that workshop, getting that extra star per turn, really builds up and stacks. That is what really gets you rolling in the early game, and the inability to do that is really hurting Chris's eco, and he's really gonna have to come up with something quick here in the face of these 2 giants.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see from Pampered Treasure the markets. I think markets here for Pampered Treasure would be incredibly strong. It goes right into roads, and I think it would provide him just a massive advantage, right? Just increasing his stars per turn by probably close to double, if he can get some good market spots down. So, but we'll see what happens in these next few turns. I think these next few turns.
Yeah, I think he has some nice one here. So next to his capital, and then.
Yeah, I see that level 4, and you can maybe get a level 2 in the corner, but that's about all I see for now. So like 6 stars per turn.
Yeah, let's see if it's worth it, and if he chooses to go this path. Yeah.
Yeah, here Chris gets a lot of connections to his capital, gets that lighthouse, and he finally gets his own giant this turn, I believe. Chooses to move some units around, train another rider, push it out. Yep. But now it's 1 giant against 2, and his giant is all the way in the back. And if we bring our attention to the northwest edge, if we pause it and go back a little bit. Back a little bit. The 2 players are a little bit more to the Green Vengir's turn. We do see that there's a warrior that is slowly advancing along the northwest edge, and Chris, on the other hand, also only has 1 singular unit advancing and claiming those villages. So while there's this big fight going on the other half of the map, there's these 2 lone warriors that are slowly advancing and inevitably going to clash. And we'll see here that while the main battle is going on the other half of the map, these 2 warriors will have a small tussle on their own as they conquer these villages and kind of duke it out in their own way.
Yep.
I think here in Chris's position, right, like the main thing with roads, right, is you're trying, you want to get the Grand Bazaar Monument, right, which you need to connect 5 cities. And we see here that he only has maximum 4 cities, but he would need to take 1 from Pampered Treasure. But, Chris is kind of on the defensive right now. So I think that's something that's really hurting him, right? Like when you go roads, you're trying to, get some fast expansion, get some villages, and get that giant going with the monument. But he just doesn't have that monument this game, right? His other city is all the way up in the north. So...
no hope for connection because there is a mountain.
Yeah, he would need. He would need to get ports going, which just I don't think that's he can't afford that right now, right?
Yep, too expensive. But yeah, we can see that Chris is using the roads to his advantage and being careful about when he sends his units in, healing those riders that attacked that swordsman earlier. Pampered Treasure goes for forestry. Math here. Throws down a fortress, but he does not finish the upgrade, unfortunately. Does not have the does not have the population for it.
We're seeing
Treasure takes a workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And now Treasure gets roads himself.
Mm-hmm.
But was it from the ruin, or did he get it?
It looks like he got it with.
Yeah, he bought them. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this just provides this is really so this position right now. This isn't looking very good for Chris, and there's a couple reasons why. If we look at where Pampered Treasure positioned his giants, it blocks all of Chris's units. They have to go through one of those two giants to access the rest of the map. So I think this was a very good play by Pampered Treasure to kind of start sectioning off and closing in Chris's riders and stuff, because when riders don't have a whole lot of mobility, they kind of become like warriors, right? They kind of lose their, you can constrict them, they lose their movement, and they're not as useful. But what this does is with Pampered Treasure moving his giants where they are, he also guarantees himself, if he can capture that city he's sieging now with his giant, then he gets that west village also, like pretty guaranteed, because Chris won't be able to defend that. So I think this was a very, very good move on Pampered Treasure part, and I'm interested to see how Chris manages to come back from this.
Yeah,
I actually also think
enough riders to kill off the giants. So.
Yeah, another purpose that giant serves right there is that it prevents the Houdini. If you look at the number of units Chris has, if he can just get 2 riders onto the tile south of Gork and southwest of Gork, he can pull off a Houdini with a monument. He's been saving his monument, and you can see that if he gets math, he can pop a giant here. Now, if he's just able to road those riders around and just somehow pull off a bounce with maybe that warrior that's double south of Gork, and position all his riders to block off every tile, he can pop his giant, and the sieging giant with nowhere to go will just vanish. But with that giant there, Chris no longer has any way of getting those giants to those 2 tiles behind Gork, and unfortunately cannot pull off the Houdini, which would have been huge here. Without that giant, Chris would have a massive advantage. So yeah, I think the giant and the roads play was really, really good here.
Okay, so it looks like Chris is trying to counter attack one of his cities. Okay, so he double monuments for the giant push.
Oh, it does not use math. Maybe he could. Oh yeah, he can't afford math right now.
Yeah,
he's continuing to kill units, picking them off, and being careful with his riders.
Mm-hmm.
Does sacrifice one of them here and leaves another one to be killed. Border growth is good here. It gives him more resources and also cuts off a little bit of the roads that Chris has been using so well.
Yeah, it actually allowed for a market spot, but Pampered Treasure actually misses this. Left of his sawmill there, he could have chopped the forest for it, but he opts to get.
Well, I think if he chopped the forest, he wouldn't have been able to giant. So, I think he's valuing the giant a little bit more than his eco here. He does have a relatively strong eco already, so.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Pampered. I'm surprised I haven't seen Pampered Treasure get any catapults yet. Considering he has this kind of like mini, I'm gonna say ponds between his cities. I mean, if he just gets a catapult in that west.
There it is, right as you said it.
There we go. We see a catapult in the capital. All right, so these catapults are actually going to become a really big problem for Chris if he can't get to them, because these water towers are just blocking those catapults, and he's going to need his riders to try and break through at some point. But right now, it doesn't look like Pampered Treasure is going to allow that, with both of his giants just surrounding. It looks like Gark right now, so. We'll have to see what he ends up doing to try and counterplay against those catapults. We also see that.
Yeah, in the north corner, Pampered Treasure has a swordsman ruin.
Yeah, so he got the swordsman from the ruin.
Yeah, normally for VENGIR, you would think that a swordsman ruin isn't that good, since there's swordsmen all over the map. But here it actually makes a pretty big difference, since it's a 1-on-1 situation where each of them only have one city that can really easily access this region of the map. That swordsman is going to help him so much in the fight here, just because that is a second unit that, normally he would need a turn to train up, that has extra HP, and yeah, it's just a really strong unit that he did not have to pay for. And it's going to completely change the tides of this battle in the north
big
corner.
advantage.
Alright, so we see Chris starting to see Siege's Pamper Treasure's East City there. Let's see if Pamper Treasure can unsiege. Let's see, his giant that is pretty weak. Okay, Chris finally gets math himself. Now Pamper Treasure, it looks like they're trading cities here.
It looks like he cannot unsiege, unfortunately. He does get a singular chop, and he misses one double north of the city itself. And getting this city is huge for Chris, since it finally gives him that fixed city he needed for
Grand Bazaar, which allows
Bazaar.
him to giant pop him off of Gark there, which I think is a massive advantage there. It does look like Pamper Treasure is going to try and take that East City back.
With the 2 catapults and that 13 HP giant.
Yeah, I smell knights in Chris's future. I don't know. I'm liking those babies. The Pamper Treasure, he's lining up those catapults and stuff.
Yeah, when Chris here can unsiege easily with the riders and the swordsman.
Yeah, see,
so the siege won't hold.
Yeah, no, the siege will not hold. And so we see them starting to kind of have a tussle up in the north. Oh, looks like he goes for a siege up there.
But yeah, we can see the veteran swordsman here already paying its due. Because that veteran swordsman was there, it was threatening a siege with the road. So Chris, or not with the road, it was threatening a siege by just moving up, and with one other swordsman, it would be able to land the siege, and it would have been unbreakable. That forced Chris to not train a unit there, which led to an easy siege, and Chris just does not have the power to hold that north city due to that veteran swordsman.
Yeah, so that veteran swordsman ends up gaining him a village up in the north, which I think is very, very nice. Just sectioning off Chris into his east corner, really. Okay, it looks like Pamper Treasure finally... Okay, Pamper Treasure picks up Free Spirit here. And he also gets his East City back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't see Chris going for Knights yet, but we do see Pamper Treasure going for it.
We do see... Yeah, Chris gets this catapult here in Cuthers, which is really smart, because this city is completely surrounded by water, and the only way to access it is through this really narrow land tile, that lake city right there. The only way to access it is through that center city tile connected by land. So this city is really hard to reach, and by training his catapult first, before Pamper Treasure can train a catapult on Trot to lock down Cuthers, it prevents the catapult being trained, and it also just is a really difficult unit to reach unless you go through the water and hit it with a scout or rammer. It's just really hard to reach and really hard to take care of.
Yeah, there isn't any spot you can put a bridge or something, because it's like parallel tiles, so you can't reach it. Yeah.
I think this
really
will make
good catapult placement.
Yeah, and so we see Pamper Treasure finally get chivalry this turn, and I think knights are going to pose a really big problem for Chris.
But no knights yet, right? I don't see.
No knight yet, but his turn hasn't ended, so
yeah,
might train one.
Yeah,
there's does train one in the corner. And
if
he trained it anywhere else, Chris would have seen it. But because he sees that Chris does not have vision on this lighthouse, he's gambling on Chris not having vision on this city. And he was right here. Yeah. So that lighthouse was a really good indicator to whether or not he could train a city there. And you can see that Chris does leave this 2 catapult and rider chain.
Yes. Oh man, I see a really nice juicy chain. Treasure is it? Oh, going
Yeah,
for
sailing.
yeah. Wow, he goes for ports. Oh, and we see that Night Chain killing 2 catapults.
Down goes the catapults.
Yep. Youch. That definitely hurts. But now
Chris here has a lot of stars though, and he goes for trade himself. Wow.
Hey. Yeah, I think trade is a really smart move on Chris's behalf because.
But isn't it too late? Kinda, it's like he has to do something about those knights and potentially the Pamper's navy and like.
Yeah, I do wonder if maybe delaying trade by a turn or two here would have been the play, just because his 2 catapults did just fall and he is a little bit behind, a little bit more vulnerable after that. So maybe getting up like a catapult or 2 and rebuilding his militaristic strength before going for that eco play might have been a little bit more safe here.
Yeah, so okay, we see him roading in. Okay, he does get a nice siege over there, and it's not going to hold, but Chris is kind of barely holding on here, it kind of seems like.
Yeah, he does give up that siege. Actually, if he had hit in a different order, he would have been able to chain through four of Chris's units, but he wanted that siege more. So, and that siege here does lose him his market, which is unfortunate. The market he just placed. And now Pampered Treasure goes trade himself. He's going to be able to use trade a little bit better just because he has that level 5 sawmill spot and just higher level trade spots.
Yeah, so we see Chris is at 22 stars per turn, and we'll see if Pampered Treasure is at this next turn, but Chris is kind of being closed in on all sides, right? Pampered Treasure won the battle in the north. He's now winning the battle in the east, so now he's kind of.
Yeah, the knights are doing so much damage.
Yeah, he gets a capital siege here. We'll see.
And he even gets that catapult snipe.
Yeah, which is just even more deadly.
Oh, he gets Org to unsiege.
Okay. Yep, so he pops his it looks like it's probably going to be his last giant on his capital, but he can't really train a whole lot of units this turn due to it, with having to grab Org and only having 23 stars per turn. It looks like Pampered Treasure is going to potentially win this game, with Pampered Treasure also having the catapults, just kill any offensive units that Chris may put in his way. I don't think Chris really, especially with him getting markets now. I think markets for Pampered Treasure was a really, really nice play now. I just secure victory. He's at 55 stars per turn, and Chris is at 23. Yeah, and so we see Chris resign here.
More than double. Mm-hmm.
I want to bring back attention to that last turn where we see a really good use of destroy building, where Chris had initially placed a market and it was level like 5 or 6 or something like that for Chris, but because Pampered Treasure does not have that north sawmill, so it's a really low level for him. So he destroys that building, destroys a sawmill, and instead places them elsewhere in order to get a higher level market for himself.
Good catch. Yeah.
Very smart play.
Yep. Gets a level 5 market instead of a level.
Before it was level 0 because Chris had chopped everything.
Yeah. Very, very nice play from that. But yeah, so this game goes to Pampered Treasure. I think this was
anything Chris could have done differently to win, or you don't see any way for him to turn this around.
I think going he really just went for this Ryder Rhodes play, and the only problem is that VENGIR has a really, really hard time trying to support it because Rhodes are now 3 stars. It requires a little bit more use of stars than it did before, and so I think with VENGIR you need to get some sort of economy rolling before you can even start going for these really aggressive plays with Rhodes, right? We saw that he struggled to get enough Rhodes and stuff to make any counterplay in the early game, and even then we just saw Pampered Treasure kind of run him over with Swordsman because 4 riders to kill a Swordsman. So I think if he maybe leaned into like the Forestry check and went archery, a little bit more safe play, and, also you just get some free damage, and if you pair it with swords, you can just get some free kills and stuff. I think that would have turned out a little bit better. It also would have set him up more for going into math, I think, earlier, which I think could have definitely swayed the game if he could have gotten catapults maybe before Pampered Treasure did. But I think that's kind of my thought process on it. What do you think, Cloud?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that assessment. We saw early on that because he had these 2 level 1 cities that he could not upgrade for the workshop, his eco was really hurting. Placing down all those roads, dropping all those riders was really delayed his eco by a lot. I also think that archers in general tend to trade a little bit better just because they don't take retaliation damage. The riders, you can kind of choose when you want to take your trades since you have better range than your opponent. But the main drawback is that after hitting a swordsman that damages them so badly, they need a turn or 2 of just resting, of healing up. So even though that unit is still alive, it's kind of out of commission for about 2 turns, meaning if he wants to use it, he either has to sacrifice it and train a new one, or he has to just continue pumping out riders, and that delays him from going other techs, that delays him from leveling up cities. And if he had went archery, which trades a little bit better, or just gone straight for like sawmills or more eco techs and built up his eco a little bit faster, maybe the outcome could have been a little bit different. The main advantage of having more villages is you have more bases to train units. You have a higher eco, since most of the time that first upgrade is what gets your eco increasing the fastest. That's the best return on your investments. Although Chris did have the ability to train more units, he did not have the eco advantage just because he did not have the mines, he did not have the right resources to get things rolling as quickly. I think that's why he was unable to win this game, just because he could not get his eco advantage up despite his higher number of cities.
But to be fair, his spawn was much worse than
the lack of mountains was really painful for him.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So let's jump into the game number 2.
All right.
Let me switch to.
All right, let me.
Okay. So here we have. Sorry, let me turn off the fog. Yeah, so here we have Rats and Vorse.
All right, these are 2 very, very experienced players. Rats, he's I think he's a 7-time bullet champion. I mean, he's incredibly strong. Vorse is also very strong in their own regard. Vorse has won multiple. I think he's won bullet as well. And he's very strong in 1v1s and stuff. So I'm interested to see how this turns out.
Okay, let's have a look at the spawns.
Yep. So we see Rat spawn. He spawns with 3 forests, 2 mountains. Unfortunately, his forge spot is blocked by a forest. But he did look. Yeah, and it does look like his village density really doesn't look that great. His village that's closest to him is going to the east, not to the center. And his other village that's closer is
3 or 4 tiles. That's
far. Yeah, he's gonna have a hard time trying to expand there, it seems like. But if we go over to Vorse's side, he spawns with 6 forests and 1 mine, and he has almost perfect density here. He has a village to his west, village to his
amazing.
east.
Like,
yeah. He also has some really nice math spots, actually. Northeast of his capital and then southwest of that east city.
I think normally when you get a lighthouse spawn, you want to try to expand as fast as you can, just because you know that you spawned as far away from the center as possible, and if your opponent is spawned like in a nearby corner, they can kind of expand quickly to the center and cut you off from the rest of the map. But with how poor, with the density distribution of the villages, we can see that even if Rats like makes a rush to the middle, he will actually still have less villages than Vorse, just because Vorse's density is a lot better than his when we just look at the first villages. And that first village, capturing that first village, is like makes one of the biggest differences in the early game, since it gets your eco rolling, it gets your upgrades going.
Yeah, but with Rats, it's like you can't make many mistakes because he's like fighting till the end. So I'm very curious about this game. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's start. So never give up, never surrender.
All right.
Both players opening with a single warrior. They know that one of them has a lighthouse spawn, so they probably have a little.
Yeah. So a quick question here. So Vorse decided to go for the lighthouse, and you said like the expansion is actually more important. So would you say it was like an early mistake from?
I think it's an interesting play, since for VENGIR you want the expansion, but you also know that you struggle with eco early on. So by going for this lighthouse, he not only gets a faster upgrade, he gets a faster upgrade, and that also allows him to train another unit, which although it delays his the expansion of his first warrior by 2 turns, it lets him get out a third unit a turn earlier, which can allow him to expand in 3 directions, you know, a turn earlier as well. I think it was kind of like a personal style thing. If the density was worse, if his density was worse, I would feel like this might be a little worse of a play, since it means that he's delaying getting his other villages by, you know, like 2 turns essentially. But because his village density was pretty good, I think it was fine in general, since his second warrior is still pretty close.
He could not know that.
Yeah, he could not know at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
He was just going for the faster eco.
Okay, so we see Rats finally finds that east village, but not finding anything in the center, unfortunately. Just kind of wondering. Okay, he finally does.
He's going all the way past the center of the map to find this village, actually.
Yeah.
And even though he does find it, it's like Vorse sees him already.
Yeah, which is just really bad. And he can't really support that village either. Like, he can't really defend it or anything, so...
Yeah, Vorse will see him, probably.
Yeah, he's going to lose that village, most likely.
Yeah, Vorse already has the units ready to knock him off that center village.
Yeah.
Although here, you see that that village with 3 mines. I'm a little curious if not sieging that center city and instead going for that village with the 3 mines would have been the smart play. Since we see that this village has 2 forests, one of which Rats can chop immediately, the other one he can't, since a unit is blocking. But that means this city is going to be kind of difficult to upgrade. Whereas if we had gone for that other center city with 3 mines, this city is unclaimed, and if he sends his warrior over first, he's going to be able to claim it first. And he has another village that can help him pressure Nagar, which is a pretty weak village. So I'm kind of curious if there was also some kind of play that Vorse could have made here for the center village. I do understand that it's kind of more difficult to make a play for a village when your villages are further away, since it takes more time for your units to reach. And if he didn't claim Nagar now, Rats can train swordsmen from it, which makes it harder to hold. But I do think that this other village is of higher value if you are able to somehow secure it.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we look at that village in terms of where it is and into where Vorse's position is, right? I think Rats here, he can just take it even if Vorse does go for it, right? Like if he moves his swordsman, northeast there, and then is 1 tile away. If Rats sees this, which he can, then Rats can just train a swordsman on his East City, and he'll be there in time to knock him off and get the city for himself. So I think regardless here, I think going for Nagar is I think the play.
Okay.
Let's see how this turns out.
Yeah, you do see the chop, and here Rat actually decides to go for the early upgrade and sacrifice his forge spot. He does have another level 2 forge spot though, so it's not the worst thing. Getting those early upgrades in. Vorsh here starts going for his free upgrades with the 5 stars to 5 stars back.
Yeah, really, really nice. Scooping up more villages, which is really nice for Rats, considering his density was really not that great. He picks up mining and climbing before capturing. He goes for a workshop here.
Yeah, he really needs to get his eco going with how slow he's getting these villages. He knows that he's behind in stars.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of aggressive chops here.
Yeah, well, I think he needs to, right? Like, he knows
he really needs to get his eco going. Yep.
Yeah, he needs to get that giant as soon as possible.
Even though it looks like their eco is about even with him making 16 stars, and I think Vorst is also making something similar. But because he's getting his eco going slower, Vorst has made more stars over the course of the previous turns.
Yeah, so
he gets his first giant.
Yep. So we see the first giant from Rats here. He got that really, really nice level 3 forge spot. He also has a really nice forge spot in the city north of him that you can just pop another giant with another 5 stars. Yep. And then he can also pop one in his capital if he wants to hit the mine southwest and then put a forge southeast of his capital, and you can just get another giant. His giant potential for Rats is looking really, really nice. I'd be interested to see if he ends up, after getting his economy up, I wondered if Rats is considering archery at this point, because I think archery behind the giants would be like really, really strong here. Okay, he goes for this explorer, does find the lighthouse in the corner. That's actually really, really nice.
Sees 2 ruins, one of which Vorst claims.
Veteran swordsman.
Veteran swordsman on the edge of the map isn't the most helpful, but it does just guarantee him that east.
We have the first giant from Vorst.
Yep, so Vorst
he does place his sawmill in a spot. Yeah, his lumber hut in a spot that blocks a trade spot, but I think Vorst is not really considering trade for this game. It looks like since he immediately blocks another one with that monument.
Yeah, so we see Rats just getting his economy up. He's taking some explorers now, trying to get that vision. I think this is something very key about Rats. You know, we saw him claim that center village and get a workshop there, but on both of his east and west cities, oh my goodness.
Yeah, Vorst got math from the room.
Yeah, Vorst gets a math.
Huge here.
Yeah, that's really nice. Considering that Rats doesn't have any ranged units at all, this will be very, very important for his offense, especially in dealing with those giants. I think this now gives him some counterplay against those giants now, since Vorst doesn't seem to have as much giant potential. But I guess with math now, he can probably just get some more. So.
Unfortunate for Rats here. I think he tried to go for a giant push play to unsiege that south city, but his warrior did not push in the right direction, since warrior units always push towards the center when they're freshly spawned.
So we see Vorst get a really nice giant push on his capital to get that catapult in range to shoot that giant, which is really, really nice. We see Vorst just getting another giant there.
We also see that Vorst is building up a strong push in the west with a catapult backed by 2 swordsmen and 2 warriors. In the west.
Yeah.
See the catapult with 2 swordsmen and 2 warriors making a play for that village. And it seems like Rats is a little under-defended there right now. He kind of has to pull his units back, and he has this giant coming up to try to defend. He's also going for riders over archers, just because riders are faster, more mobile units. And because Vorst got that math through it, and it kind of speeds up his tempo by like a turn or two. So Rats feels like he's behind, and he really has to rush riders and bring units in for support and try to defend right now.
We see Rats getting a siege in the east there, but it does look like it will hold just barely. Yep. Okay, and so we see Rats gets a population.
Another pop ruin.
Yeah.
Goes roads before he captures.
Yeah. So the key difference here, right, is that Rats gets riding and roads when he's built up his economy. Unlike the last game we saw, right? We saw Chris go just straight into it with no economy and stuff. I think this is going to build a really, really nice, healthy push for Rats to try and counterattack these catapults that are really causing him a lot of problems right now. Because he doesn't really have any way to deal with them, but now he does, right? Roads and riders can definitely.
We see Vorse goes for explorer all the way in the west when he has like almost full vision of the map to try to play for that Eye of God and get that lighthouse in the north, but unfortunately he does not get it. A bit of a gambly play, but he really wanted that Eye of God monument.
Yeah. It's like fair enough, right? I think Eye of God is, any monument is, as we can say, monumental in a game for getting more super units and stuff, and especially for like unsieging cities, right? It just makes it a whole lot cheaper.
Yeah, I do think you need to kind of carefully weigh out where you want to get explorers versus where you want to get workshops, just because that +1 SPT is start per turn is really good, but yeah, in this case, Force kind of thinks, okay, my eco's built up enough, I can kind of gamble for this lighthouse. If it doesn't go well, I can live with the consequences.
Okay, we'll see it.
He wants this lighthouse really bad.
Okay, he does.
And Rats does get the Eye of God. I believe he has vision on all 4 lighthouses now.
Yep, he does.
He does.
Oh wow, and with that, he is going to invest heavily in this city.
Oh my goodness.
He used
all 3 of his monuments to get that giant push. Which honestly, I don't know how I feel about this, right? Like, I mean, I guess it is good because it does allow him to keep the city for an extra turn, but I think Vorse just has a really nice, like, he has the catapult behind. I think this is an interesting play because I don't know if he can really defend that city. Because I think if Vorse just trains another catapult in the city southwest of it, I think he can just constantly siege it and then take it. So
yeah, it's definitely increasing the value of that city by a lot, since before it only had 1 forest and no other resources that we can see. But with these three monuments putting down, that's 9 whole populations, 9 extra population that would not have been able to go there otherwise. That Rats is investing in the city, so he's really going all in on the city, and if he loses this city, it's gonna be a huge blow to him. Whereas before, if he lost that city, it's just a 2 stars per turn. Any further upgrades is gonna be like a heavy investment, like a monument. So yeah, Rats is really going all in here.
Yeah, so we'll see. So we see Vorse kind of just... Okay, Vorse finally gets roads. Okay, it looks like he's gonna just siege again. Yeah, it's just exactly
immediate siege. Oof, that's really painful for Rats after he threw down everything for that.
Yeah, it's really not good for Rats. We see Rats trying to defend this city.
Yeah, he made it.
He does get the first clear, but that second giant is not going to be as easily dealt with.
Yeah.
So we see Vorse just slowly picking away at his units. He now blocks with that swordsman, which will cause even more problems for Rats. I'm not sure he can unsiege that now, actually. But we'll see. We see that Rats has a really, really strong push over in the west. He has 3 giants and everything. So okay, let's see. He gets free spirit and he gets a knight. Okay.
Yeah,
He
he
decides to
destroys
everything in the city. Honestly, a very, very smart play. Makes the city. It makes the city actually now. It actually makes it worse for Vorse because it'll increase his tech costs. So if he wants to grab any tech, it's just going to make it a little bit more expensive. And that city it's not gaining any stars now. So
yeah, smart decision by Rats here.
Yep. So it looks like I think we see Vorse actually gets his Grand Bazaar this turn. Yeah, and he places it over in the west to get another giant.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we see Rats has a really, really strong push over in the west with 3 giants. One, on that center city of Vorse's. And so Vorse actually, I think Vorse is actually on the defensive in the west right now.
Yeah, I think a main difference in their attack is that, or in their attack and defense, is how they use their monuments. Rats kind of placed all 3 in one city to try to make a desperate attempt to hold it, whereas Vorse was a little bit more strategic with his monuments. You see that he placed 1 to get this giant here. He placed 1 earlier in the city east of his capital. So he's kind of splitting up where he's placing his monuments and trying to get as much value out of each of them individually to get 1 giant in like every city, whereas Rats invested all 3 in 1. And I feel like if that giant would have brought you a lot of value, it might be worth it. But otherwise, most of the time, I prefer splitting my monuments, maybe like 1 per city to get 3 giants in 3 different cities as opposed to 1 giant in 1 city. Destroying the monuments, though, did give him a lot of value since it meant that his opponent would not get any stars from taking a city that would have been very high level.
Yep.
Okay, so we see Vorse, training a little bit, trains another catapult in that south city there. And we see that Rats... Yep, so we see Rats has knights, which are going to be a pretty big problem for Vorse, considering he's his units are kind of cramped in the west, right? He doesn't have a whole lot of space, which makes knights even more deadly. When units have a lot of space and stuff, good micro and stuff, kind of spacing them out is super easy, and knights can be easily countered. But without that space, it really makes it hard to space those units out, which
I
makes...
think here we are going to see our first knight chain. Yep.
So we see 1, 2, 3,
rider
4,
coming in from Rats.
5. Yep. So we see 5 units get chained by that knight, and Rats saves the other knight, trains another knight in his capital. Just saving those.
Yeah, definitely a lot of clever micro from Rats here.
Yeah, so we see Vorse kind of spacing his units out, or at least trying to.
Border growth, or
I think
taking border growth to really try to limit the mobility of that knight here.
Yeah, I think that was a very good play, because Forests, block them. Okay, it looks like go for another knight chain, gets a nice siege, and he gets to kill that catapult next to his capital. Going for
Rats is really trying to pick out those catapults whenever he can at this point, since those are the main thing that's stopping his giants and swordsmen and other beefy units from advancing.
Yep. So we see Vorse trying to put up some sort of defense. It looks like who resigns here? It looks like what?
No, Vorse. Yeah.
Vorse resigns here.
Yeah.
Let's see. He just doesn't. I think Vorse here, he's struggling with units, right? Like all of his units kind of got taken away from him from Rats' previous turn.
I think normally, if you are playing a player that you think might mess up, in this position, it's definitely playable. But since these players have played against each other countless times, they both know that their opponent is someone who is very, very good at what they do. They know that they're not going to blunder any major mistakes in this position. So they call it and they say, I know you're good enough to win from this position. I know you're not going to make any mistakes. I'm going to save us both some time, and I'm going to resign here.
Yeah, so I'm getting from in chat, Meisterlamp is actually saying that Rats resigned here.
Oh, Rats resigned here.
Yeah, it looks like
so it looks like Rats does not think he can break through in this position.
Look at if we look at game stats, it'll actually say who turned into there. So go to game stats. I think it'll say who is the bot. Yeah. So
it's Rats.
Rats resigned here.
Yeah. So
it looks like Rats did not think he could break through. He conceded the game to Vorse. Yeah, with all these giants here, it would be really hard to break through.
I'm actually interested to see. Trying to see. I mean, he has plenty of units, I think, to kind of go through those giants.
Well, it does also look like if this is Vorse's turn right here, he has 19 stars saved up going into the next turn with 35 stars of income. So he could very easily go Knights himself this turn. And if he goes Knights himself, with all those riders from Rats, it's going to be a lot of value. Yeah, so he would be able to afford 1 knight next turn, or is it 2? Okay. He can afford
18.
Yeah, one knight next turn with the stars he currently has saved up.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Well, definitely an interesting game.
Yeah.
All right.
But I'm a bit surprised that Red gave up on this at this stage.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised too. I thought he had. I think he had the unit advantage. I think if Vorse, I think if Vorse just like spams swords, I think it would be an even bigger problem. Just because he just has riders and knights, which really aren't that great against swords.
Maybe Reds was hoping for like one of those knight sieges to hold, and then if he kind of took one city from Vorse, then. He could, like see a light in the tunnel to continue, but with those like catapults in the back, and sieging, it was too much for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty.
So we go to game number 3. Okay. Off. Yeah. So here we have
Estrella.
Yeah. Help me out because I know some of those people with their Discord names.
Big Dictator Boss Man, who is Estrella in Poly Champions, and Marinac 20. So it's a match between those two, and it looks like they spawned very, very close to each other on this lakes map.
Yeah.
There's again a lot of water in the. It's a similar matchup to what we saw in the past, where there's half of the map is land and half the map is water. But the big difference here is that there's another lake in the north.
Yep.
That kind of prevents any good village density generation for, I believe that's Marinac. Whereas for Estrella, he does have a lot more villages in the south. He has 3 villages in the south as compared to Marinac's just 1 village in the north. It does look like there's 2 villages that these 2 players will be fighting over since they're really close, and these are the main 2 villages that are in the center of the map. But it'll heavily the outcome of this game and how things advance will definitely depend heavily on which direction these players choose to send their first units. They'll either start tussling right off the bat for these first 2 villages, or maybe Estrella will, expand to the west and find these other villages first before they start their fight.
Yep.
So let's switch, turn on the fog, and start.
Climbing immediately. Wow, interesting play from Estrella.
Yeah, wow. That's a very interesting and different play.
He really wants to expand as quickly as he can. He does not want to be stopped by this mountain.
Yeah, normally with VENGIR you want to try and get your economy rolling, but and it looks like that climbing play really does just bite him, because Marinac just gets to that village first, which really hurts. And Marinac also goes climbing pre-capture, so it looks like they're both going to be going climbing mining.
I think the main difference here, though, is one of them went hunting before climbing. So their eco now is at, what, 5, 6? It's like almost double Australia's before at the start of his turn 5.
Yeah, we also see that Marinac got a pop ruin, so that's pretty huge as well.
That is really big, yeah.
Yeah, so Marinac goes for an Explorer here. I actually think this is a misplay. A few reasons why. You have the village on the side of the map, but you have climbing. Climbing's going to give you a whole lot of vision. The mountains alone. Marinac can't really do much with the vision right now. I think he probably could have waited on getting an Explorer. He could have waited to get that West Village and then get it there, but I don't think it was.
I do think the Explorer helped him notify him of this village in the west, just because there are no resource indicators there. But yeah, I agree with that. The Explorer seemed like a little bit excessive.
Yeah.
But yeah, Australia really kind of on the back leg here, just due to his starting tech choices and getting his eco going a little bit slower because of the climbing play. We do see that he can get a quick giant here with just hunting, though. Yeah, and he's starting to go for it. I believe next turn is when this giant should be able to come out.
Yep.
Marinac, on the other hand, can also get his giants soon. Maybe even this turn. Yep, this turn if he gets some chops.
Okay.
He's even set up for a second giant already as well. Next will be coming out next turn. So yeah, that's early climbing play. Really, really painful for Australia.
Yep, so we see both players get their first giant. We see Australia slowly scooping up those south villages. Australia getting that Explorer. I think he's trying to go for Eye of God, although I'm kind of I don't think that was I don't think that was correct.
Because a Star Ruin. Wow, very lucky for.
Yeah, because Australia doesn't have any potential for an next Explorer to go.
Yeah, there's no room for another village to get an Explorer. So I don't think getting an Explorer there was right. I think he needed to get a workshop there, especially with his economy is behind. So, but we see Marinac. He gets that Star Rune, which is just. I mean, with VENGIR, anything that helps your economy with VENGIR is just a huge, right? Population is huge. Stars are huge. Any tech that can help you, get your economy rolling is huge. So. Definitely, Marinac, you got a pop ruin earlier. He now gets a star ruin. Definitely looking good. Getting that giant all the way in the back. That giant is not going to arrive to the front lines anytime soon. Okay, we see archery. We finally
love to see it. Yeah.
Yep, we see our first archery game. Okay. Oh, they both go archery. Oh my goodness, I'm loving it so far. Archers are one of my favorite units.
Yeah, archers just let you trade so well into your opponent, especially as VENGIR when you see so many swordsmen, so many giants.
Yeah.
So it looks like Australia's trying to pick up that north village there, but it's not going to hold. With Marinac having archers, I don't think anything is going to hold there.
I'm actually kind of curious how Marinac wants to deal with this. So I see two options of unsieging. He can either hit with the archer and unsiege with the giant, or he can hit with the giant and unsiege with an archer. The main difference between these two options is the first one forces his giant to move onto the village, which allows Australia's giant to get the first hit on a giant. That's really painful because giants have 4 defense but 5 attack, meaning you take more damage from being hit than you do from the retaliation damage. So you really don't want your giant to be the first one getting hit.
Yeah.
However, if he attacks first with his giant will take retaliation damage from the swordsman, which is less damage than he would take from the giant, but it's still kind of painful. I'm kind of curious to see what his decision will be here in how he wants to unsiege that city, since if he does conserve his giant's health by unsieging with it, he won't get sieged the following turn.
Throwing a swordsman at that giant there.
He does unsiege with his giant. Okay.
So I think here, I think that was a fine play. I you know, he hit the other giant with a swordsman first to, you know, weaken it.
Yep. Very smart idea to kind of weaken the giant so his giant doesn't get pummeled as hard.
Yeah, I think that was a very nice play. So we see
Straight here kind of playing aggressive with his archers, getting one just stomped on by that giant there.
Yeah,
really trying to press his advantage and throw his units at his opponents as much as he can.
We see ports.
Navy play, yeah.
So we see ports. That's interesting. Maybe he's hoping for maybe a village in the east.
Yeah, I think he's hoping for a village on the water, actually.
Yeah, there's one
here committing to land. He actually has no water access if we look at it closely. All his villages are landlocked.
Yeah, so we see Marinette and Free Spirit trying to save for knights, it looks like. And Astray doesn't have that great a vision on his city, so I wonder if we'll see a chain in the future with all those archers and stuff. Because I mean, Astray, he just has a wall of archers. I mean, this all he has. Okay,
ruin.
Yep, he gets chivalry,
but he cannot afford a knight this turn, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
and he does find the water city that he is looking for. He's clumping all these units. He's very lucky his opponent could not afford knights last turn.
Yes, but he will definitely be able to get a knight this turn.
There's a knight.
Yep, there's the first knight of the game. Now, will we see the major chain?
Yep, let's see. All right. Oh no, it doesn't look like Estrella sees it.
Yeah, that is massive chain.
My goodness. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, this is gonna be
almost every single one of his units together. Wow, 3 starfish. Very nice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, he's gonna add it. Oh no.
8, 9, 10, 11 units.
Oh,
that's almost every single one of Australia's archers.
His entire defense. Yep, his entire defense in the west is gone.
Collapsed
in one turn. Yep, and he only has this giant just standing there by himself. Oh, and
another siege on that city.
Oh wow, my goodness! And just
that is
complete dominance.
That is game over.
Yeah,
very well played by him.
Man,
what a game.
I was wondering how he was going to turn this around with losing that water naval city and just looking like he's being locked to land and having his mobility cut off gradually with those archers. But that knight chaining through all the units and this double siege, that just completely shuts Australia out.
Yeah, I think this just showcases the power of knights and how vital they can be in positions, right? Like Australia here is fine, if he can survive, his opponent's attacks, right?
He was definitely
gets the water and you can just get water and just power through with boats and stuff, and his opponent can't really do much. But I'm surprised from Australia being an experienced player. Normally around turn 15 and up, you want to be careful about knights and stuff. But Australia was pretty. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't think that his opponent had knights. I mean, we saw he had Rider and Rhodes, so it was definitely a possibility. So I'm surprised Estrella got he was kind of lackluster with to see his opponent's threats potentially. So, but yeah, no, I mean, this game was great. It showcases the power of archers, and then we see the downfall from a knight. I think that's that's it.
Yeah, here you also see the biggest thing, the importance of spacing out your units. Even if you're not sure if your opponent has knights, the cost of spacing out your units and the benefit is just far too big. If it'll cost you maybe a little bit of micro, a little bit of damage, maybe you can't hit that giant that extra 2 or 3 times because you have to kind of consider where you want to place your units and you don't want to chain them together. But it's a lot better than losing every single one of your archers except one. There's one in that city. Every single one of your archers except one to a single knight. That's just really painful, and as you can see, completely turned the tides of this game.
Was this play going, Navy reasonable, or would you say?
I think in this situation, with his archers not being dead yet, this was a very reasonable play. It completely shuts his opponent down out of the water, although his opponent actually had 0 access to the water after not taking border growth. But I do think it was a reasonable play. As you can see, there's these 3 starfish, so his naval investments almost just pay for themselves.
24 stars for free.
Yeah, but yeah, the main thing was definitely just this chain. If this knight chain had not occurred, Australia would definitely be way ahead in this match.
Yeah, because then you can go, bombers, and then like shut your opponent down.
Yeah, because the thing with Australia's position is that once he gets a really nice naval presence and stuff, he can just have boats on 2 of Mikhail's 2 cities there on the edge, and then he can't train any units there. And so he only has 2 units to train from. And if Australia has archers, then he can really only train units from his capital. So yeah, he could just completely just kind of box him in. But yeah, no, he kind of blunders this night chain here, and throws the game away, which is super unfortunate. But yeah, no, it was very interesting.
That's the way it is. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to our last game of this evening. Sorry. Yeah, I was a bit confused because this looks very much like the Reds versus Vorst game. Yeah, sorry, because it's Drylands again, and yeah. Okay, there you go.
Oh my goodness! I immediately look at this game and I see this density is insane.
Yeah, almost perfect density. That's crazy.
Yeah, this is.
Yeah, sorry. So this is Meisterlampe against Le Liberateur. Yeah. So
both players
your
are
thoughts on the density and spawns.
very good players in Poly Champs.
Yeah, so we see both of them have access to 3 villages, all 2 tiles away from the capital. Meisterlamp has, I think Meisterlamp's. I'm trying to look at resources here. His resources are a little bit more diverse. With him only having a couple forests in his first few cities, but I think he has like 2 mountains in that one center city. Meanwhile, if we look over at Lee Liberators, he has, let's see, one. He doesn't have any mountains in his capital, unfortunately. But he has 2 in that south city, 1 in that west city, and then one in his north city. So it'd be interesting to see what they each decide to go for.
And Meisterlampe has those 2 ruins, and Le Liberateur doesn't have any. This is like very unfortunate.
It does seem like the ruins are kind of on the edge, though, so there is a chance that he doesn't find them until later.
Yeah. Okie doke, let's play the replay.
Both moving towards
going for that early lighthouse as well.
Both going for the light.
Yeah, both of them going for the lighthouse. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Well.
Really going for that 1 turn earlier workshop.
Yeah, which with VENGIR, I think it's just. I mean, we see it from really strong players.
Yeah, maybe that's just the best play here. Just going for that. It does get you 2 stars per turn since you're getting that workshop 1 turn earlier.
Yeah, and so if we see here, if we go back to the last turn for Meister Lamp, so it allows him to train 3 units here, right? Right, and so it allows him to expand in 3 different directions now instead of just 2 with your standard warrior. And I think this is kind of the benefit of the lighthouse, right? You go for the lighthouse, you get that extra star per turn, but it also allows you to train that extra unit and scoop up that extra village that you may potentially have, right? And in this case, for Meister Lamp, it's the perfect play, right? He gets that east village a little bit sooner, and he's also scooping up that west village, and he has that swordsman in the center just holding down everything. So I think this is like perfect. I really like Meister Lamp's position here. The Liberator, on the other hand, trying to expand. We see Meister Lamp goes for forestry. He ends up chopping.
They both go for forestry. Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know explorers so far.
Archery.
Cool. Archery. Okay, love to see it. One of them goes for archery. One of them goes for climbing.
Okay.
I do think that archery might have been a little bit hasty just because the expansion isn't completely done yet, and with investing in archery this early, you're kind of hurting your eco a little bit, and he doesn't have too many places to train those archers yet. He's pop capped in a lot of his cities, so he did just free up a good amount of population with those captures.
Yeah, so we see Lee Liberator running into the same problem that Chris had.
Now Meister going archery himself, but a turn later. And it looks like the Liberator is the first one to find that ruin. Yeah, and his opponent does not know that village is there, so he can safely claim it, I think, unless the archer was in range. I'm not sure. Yeah, that archer is not in range, so that's just a free ruin for the Liberator. Meister Lampe playing pretty aggressive with his archers, moving 2 of them to the front line, although his opponent only has enough to kill 1 of them. Getting a pop ruin, which is really good.
Yeah, and we see Lee Liberator getting the pop, which I think is I think with VENGIR is just like really important, especially with Lee Liberator's like resource distribution, especially on his capital. I think it'll be become very vital for a giant leader.
Interesting decision from the Liberator to train a warrior in that level 1 city despite seeing the archer and swordsman in range last turn. So here you see that in I don't even know how you say that, Cutthroat, he decides to train a warrior despite seeing the immediate threat. But I think the main reason why he does this is because it forces out the archer shot in order to siege. And when he has so many units on the front line, he wants to limit his opponent's options in attacking and getting the sieges so that he can be the one on the offensive and be able to kill that archer afterwards. Yeah, and he does have enough to unsiege, so there's no threats of losing the city here.
Yeah, I think they're both trying to race the killer monument as fast as possible, because I think that'll really determine who can get their giant first, right? Like Meister Lamp easily has a giant with mining and smithery in the center with with the killer monument.
Oh, here we see a first veteran of the game.
Yep, we do see that, which is very nice.
Is this the first veteran we've seen all day, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, first veteran we've seen all day.
Yeah, because in this game between in the first game, I think that there were the veteran catapults, but he eventually did not upgrade them to veterans. But very few veterans in this stream. Yeah.
Alrighty. Yep. So we see Lee Liberator just has that wall of archers behind the his city there.
And here's Killer.
Yep. So both.
It looks like we'll be seeing our first giant soon.
Yep. Hopefully. Okay. So we see the unsiege in the south there. You know, Lee Liberator just picking away at those swordsmen.
Oh, and Lee Liberator actually gets his giant first. Oh, he also has his killer monument already.
Yeah. So giant there. That's going to pose a problem for Meisterlamp here.
Meisterlamp is unfazed, continues killing archers and just picking off units wherever he can.
Yeah.
And here is his own giant.
Mm-hmm. Yep, giant in the center of the map. I really like this play from Meisterlamp. I think it just holds down that center village even better.
Interesting play with. Oh, okay. I did not see that level 2 forge spot. I was gonna say, why didn't he giant? But yeah, we can see that Meisterlamp is really breaking into his opponent's backline and just forcing these archers to space out, even though it's like so far in the backline.
Yeah,
just
and stay there in the back
from getting up a easy push.
We see another giant from Lee Liberator in the east.
First explorer.
Okay. Oh, misses the lighthouse.
I mean, that one's easy to get though. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, but he misses the north lighthouse too. It's unfortunate.
That's terrible. Yeah, there's really no way for him to get there now. Which is just really, really unfortunate. We see Meisterlamp trying to get his economy up. Just training more and more archers. Just archer galore.
Well, they're like dead even with eco though. They're both making like 24, 25 starts per turn.
Yeah, no, this map is very, very even right now. Although it looks like
wow, the archer spam is crazy. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but the Liberator only has archers and giants and that singular warrior right there, right? He doesn't have any swordsmen or any other units. And same thing from Meisterlamp. He only has archers and giants. So really showcasing just how useful archers are as support units. He goes, the Liberator finally goes for riding here to try to kind of break through the archer line, maybe work his way towards knights.
Yep, I think riding is a really nice play. Roads too. Roads is also a very nice play. You know, stems into markets, also gives his army a little bit more versatility and can kind of challenge those archers a little bit more. Because, you know, swordsmen aren't really going to touch archers if you have a lot of them. You know, they're just going to move forward and die. So,
getting his roads connections.
Yep. Looks like he's trying to get Grand Bazaar, maybe. Potentially get that giant on his capital. Like I stated earlier, you know, getting that pop ruin early on now going to allow him to get that giant in his capital once he connects his cities. So,
and it looks like we are going to see our first giant die soon. It's at 14 HP on a defense tile, but that should be able to. The Meister does have enough to kill it if he wants to.
Spiritualism.
He does kill it.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, the legendary spiritualism ruin. Very useful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you never know, right? We see Lee Liberator going for roads and riding. So, I mean, if they go for knights, maybe we'll see a spiritualism play. You know.
Oh gosh, I'm seeing all these units clumping together. I'm a little scared, even though I know there's no knights yet. Seeing that still makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, this map is screaming knights right now. Knights would just be very, very strong for.
Oh, and a star ruin. I'm surprised he did not immediately invest in knights here. Actually, just instead deciding to go. Oh, he did. He needed roads to get that unsiege, I think. Okay.
Yeah, which is fine. I think roads here and for to unsiege and also just give your units more mobility is. I think it's worth it. Right? Also gives him another giant.
And it looks like he was saving up for it anyway. So even if he didn't get that star ruin, we would have been able to buy rows and unsiege just fine.
Yep. So we see those archers, picking away at stuff. But archers kind of moving back, staying in the Liberator's territory.
But no, every single unit. It's like clumped together.
We see free spirit. Free spirit from Lee Liberator. Oh boy, are we gonna see a juicy, juicy night chain?
Oh, another veteran. Wow, we're seeing lots of veterans this match. I think that's the third veteran we've seen. The first one being an archer, and then a warrior, and now another archer.
Yeah, well, with all these archers getting all these kills, I'm not surprised. I mean, they only have like 20 of them on the field,
Both of them kind of clumping their units together. Are we going to see any major change this game? Is it going to be a replay of the game with Australia where one night chain decides the whole game?
Oh, man. Making me anxious. All right. Get some really nice sieges on Maestro.
Really aggressively, too, actually. Just advancing his entire lineup, having archers on the front line. Yeah, I'm surprised he's actually going for any more super units. I thought he would just go straight for the knights here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you have riders, and stuff, you can kind of, force your opponent to try and deal with, your frontline units, and then if they move any of their units up, then you can just kill them, right?
Yeah.
So.
Meister Lamp here also going for a few sieges of his own, whittling away at his opponent's army, getting some value wherever he can. Another veteran, wow.
We're just seeing all the veteran units come out in this game.
Yeah.
All right, we see the unsieges. We see
still no knights.
Yeah, we see Lou Liberator has a couple of giants pushing in the center there.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if there was a better. I think there had to have been a better use of Lou Liberator's stars if he went for Free Spirit. But even now, I think it was like 2-3 turns ago by this point, and he still hasn't got to knights. So. Now he finally gets knights. I think he should have saved his stars and probably invested them in a different place in order to.
Yeah. We see Meister Lamp scooping up that village in the west with that giant, just roading his giant.
Yeah, very smart play. Kind of being patient with it, not making any obvious place for it, and then suddenly, bam, giant on the village.
Yep. I think that was a really, really nice play. Just gives him another city to train units from. Any extra population slots are always really, really helpful.
Oh, and he goes for math here. So one of them's continuously working up on their eco, kind of getting ready to train more giants and just get more stronger units up.
Maybe go for knights.
Yeah, whereas the other one going for knights. And are we going to see a big chain here?
Yeah, let's
see. Do we see it? No.
Oh, I think we are going to see it.
Yep, 1.
All the way into the capital. Wow.
4, 5, 6. Yep. We do see that.
There's the resign. So not only was it a massive chain, it was a massive chain into an unbreakable cap siege.
Yeah.
Veteran knight.
Amazing.
Wow. With that swordsman and that knight, but his entire army just crumbled in one turn.
Yep. So we see, just strike again, changing the entire position. We go.
I'm actually kind of curious. Did Meister not have vision on that knight? If we go back to Meister's, he did not have vision. I see.
Was the only
is that the only 2 cities he did not have vision on?
Yeah, 2 cities.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
Yeah.
Yep.
So your thoughts? What could have been done differently? Was there a way to prevent this?
I think
just the practice of spacing your units out is so important, especially in like games like this where you've been chaining your units together for a long time. Like turn 23, like you should definitely be expecting knights or like your opponents working towards knights by turn 23. A practice I like to do is if I ever notice that I'm getting a lot of squishy units like riders or archers or warriors without defense bonus, then I'll start just clumping them into groups of 2. And the reason why I do groups of 2 is because groups of 1 is too inefficient. I don't have the space to do groups of 1. and it limits my unit placement too much. I gotta space them out too carefully. It means that a lot of units can't attack together. Groups of 3 means that the knight can get veteran, which makes it a little bit harder to kill and a little bit more tricky. But if I really don't have the room, I guess groups of 3 will do. But groups of 2 is kind of like the sweet spot where your opponent doesn't get veteran, and with almost any combination of 2, except for knights, catapults, and swordsmen, you're going to be getting value from that. 2 warriors are 4 stars, 2 riders are 6 stars. So just one knight killing 2 units is a negative trade for your opponent, since that knight is 8 stars and will most likely be dying after killing those 2 units.
Yeah, I'm surprised in both of these positions with knights that we've seen. You know, we see Estrella and Meisterlamp, you know, 2 very, very experienced players, both very strong in any format of gameplay. Both just kind of, it looks like knights just like slipped their mind, which is to me kind of surprising. You know, I feel like around, you know, I say turn 15, but you know, you can even wait till later, you know, occasionally, you know, turn 18, 19 or something, you know, to try and, you know, space your units out and stuff. But I'm surprised that they both kind of just, it like slipped their mind and they just didn't really, you know, think about it. You know,
you're on the clock and probably, you know, after a few games. So it's like your mind is not like, you know, 100% there. I can see that. And also, you know, the time pressure too, right? You know, especially when you get into the late games, you know, turns start taking a lot longer. You know, you don't have as much time. So I can see time playing a massive factor here in this game. But I mean, both opponents played super, super well. And it's also much more, you know, kind of tricky to defend against knights on those dry lands maps in comparison with lakes where there's much less land. So it's easier to defend against knights,
especially when they have roads and stuff. Knights can move 6 tiles, which is basically like half the map. You know, so very, very tricky.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts on those games? Which one you think it was the highlight of this stream?
I gotta say, this match was my favorite one, just because beautiful micro from both players. We saw a lot of veteran promotions. I feel like I was a little saddened by the ending, kind of like just a night chain into the capital. I mean, it was a great night chain, but I feel like it was at this high level of play. I wasn't expecting a player to blunder such a big chain and just resign after. I mean, you kind of had to resign after that, but blundering that big chain was...
Yeah, but I think just one last note about this game. I think maybe Meisterlampe would have played a bit longer, if not for this giant siege as well.
That giant that chain meant that he could not unsiege, and losing that city would have been really bad for him. So
Reaper.
I think that last game was definitely the most interesting, right? Like, it went to turn 23. I wanted to see the game go into a really strange state where we see knights versus defenders cloaks. I kind of wanted to see that kind of counter play because defenders against VENGIR are like super tricky eventually, especially against knights, right? So I think it definitely would have been a little bit more.
What are your thoughts on the state of like cloaks and not diplomacy, just cloaks, now that markets are a thing, and that like in the late game most of your income is coming from markets, and like level 8 markets most of the time, if you can really set everything up properly, as opposed to your cities where like cloak can't really deny market income?
I think like in the case where like mathematics and stuff, because then you have the forest for the defense bonus for the daggers. I think cloaks are still like extremely strong. I mean, if you're cloaking a city every turn, I think that your opponent's probably bound to lose it unless they have knights or something there.
With how high level, like if you're assuming that you're really going into a late game and having super high markets up, I would assume that your opponent has the proper tools, has the knights, has the riders to deal with the cloaks, right? I'm low-key like wondering like if we should increase what are your thoughts about like increasing the number of daggers at Cloak spawn? Because right now it's limited at, is it 4 or 5? 5,
it's
right?
5, yeah, it's limited to 5 right now.
Yeah.
Because with markets being a thing, we're seeing more border growths and less worries about cloaks just because you have the stars to, you know, just eat the loss of the stars and be fine with your markets. So I'm wondering like if we might potentially see like a
maybe a question, because you're both more experienced than I am. Does it really happen in VENGIR games that you get cloaks?
I guess not VENGIR games, because most of the time in VENGIR games you're not going for organization and strategy into cloaks, but I think for other tribes maybe.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, so maybe that's like a message for Mijuan. Maybe more daggers. There are always some kind of adjustments going on, so maybe they will see that this relationship between markets and diplomacy doesn't work anymore. So because the same thing is with the sanctuaries, right? It's like cloaks don't take this income from you if you have sanctuaries. Yeah, so maybe there will be some adjustments. Let's see.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to see that.
Okay, I had a great time with you watching all those games. Thanks for your comments and all the for the time.
Thank you for having us.
Next streams.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you inviting me on. This was great. I love it.
Thanks. So thanks everyone for watching. If you'd like to try yourself in the Polysseum tournaments, go to the description. There is a link. So now there is which tribe is it now? It's Barter.
It's Barter right now.
Yeah. So Barter Polysseum is going on right now. So if you like Barter, go ahead and join the Polysseum. If you like bullets, you have to go to the Polychamps server, and then once you become a Nova, then you can try bullets as well. This is a completely different format, but also interesting. So yeah, we encourage you to play. Okay. Thanks again, and see you on the next streams. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.